Welcome, 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 one and all, holy royal Negroes scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Welcome to the Doug Rice Show. My name is Doug Rice. We are starting on time. We are starting with more, hopefully, a good internet connection. We're going to be discussing a topic today that will delve into the fact that America is fast becoming a nation filled with fools. And before, of course, I even begin, let me first thank Yahuwah, God of all creation, God of Abraham, God of Israel, God of Jacob, God of Daniel, God of Hezekiah, God of Ezekiel, God of Enoch, God of all that we hold dear as set apart peoples of special possession, a peculiar people, Negroes, and all praises to that God through and in the name of Yeshua, Yahushua. I anything but Jesus Christ, the Roman invention to throw us off balance. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank David Pickett. I want to thank all of these individuals who support this live, this effort, this show, the Doug Rice Show. I've been at this since 2021, January 6th, as regularly as I can possibly be at this, have gone on this long, will hope to continue. And I thank every one of you for your support, for tuning in. Please do me a favor, if you would. Do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share this live. For those of you this 30th of March who have blessed me with your presence, I truly appreciate it. I thank you. Thank you for your presence. I thank you for your being here. I thank you for your support. Okay, so I put the word out. Let me first start there. I put the word out regarding this live. I have done everything I can to fight the onslaught of censorship, of shadow ban, all the things that they can do to keep this show, this effort from you Negroes, from you, my family. And it's amazing how impactful their censorship can be. It's amazing what they can do to you and to me. All for the reason that we would dare speak truth to the powers that listen, because we're not necessarily speaking directly to them. This isn't necessarily for their hearing. This is not necessarily for their ears. This is more or less for Negro edification, to allay our fears, and fears we may be warranted to have. But let me not digress. Let me get on with this mess. I do appreciate you being here. I'm going to start hopefully looking into the post, and hopefully you guys can hear me well. I look for that verification from all of you to tell. Please let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if I am clearer than I was my last live, which I am very happy with that live. As much as it was fraught with technical difficulties, I am extremely satisfied with that live. Resegregation, do they really want it? I think it was a good live. I liked it. Let me also tell you, because I like prefacing anything I do with this information. I am not a spiritual leader. I've never claimed to be a minister. I have known ministers. I have seen ministers. I'm familiar with the with the being a minister. I know what being a minister entails. But I'm not the one to look to for spiritual guidance. And as I try to do in each and every show, because I try to stay consistent, the folks that I tell you to look at are the folks that I look at. So when I tell you to go to TL Ministries, the End of the World Ministries, and I tell you to listen to Brother Yacoba and Brother Teo, and I tell you to buy Brother Yacoba's book, which I will do. I'll have a look as soon as I'm through all this legalese that they're putting me through. When I tell you to do that, I mean that. I'm not playing. And hopefully you all hear what I'm saying. Uh, just to plug those gentlemen, because the consistency is what I look for. That's what this is all about. Okay. I look for consistency in what an individual says and what an individual do. And I will tell each and every one of you that I have not seen any inconsistencies in TI Ministries. I've not seen any inconsistencies with Brother Yacoba and Brother Teo. I've seen them toe the line, and I have watched as what they have said has come to fruition. And today's effort put into the can, as I am a moderator on their platform, was a great offering in talking about being in the wilderness, where I expect to end up, because I'm always packed and ready to go. You tune in and watch their show. And let me tell you why I don't veer from them. And let me say this as well. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say all the time, but I hold my tongue because they're my ministers. I have chosen them. See, that's what we do as Negroes. We get to choose. We get to live with our choice, and no one gets to tell us to adjust our choice. We choose, we judge, we are kings, priests, and judges, and that's what we do first and foremost within ourselves. I have judged them to be worthy of being called my ministers, and that's the way it is. And so I take great deferential association with those brothers, as they are in no small part. They are in they're the folks that are responsible for this being a thing, a show, alive. Okay? So I wanted to say that straight up, right off, right now. And I don't go about contradicting, contending, going into debates. I am an open book. Okay? And I want that understood. There's been a telling. Someone made a post that said I was in contention with these two gentlemen. And let me tell you something, my contention hits hard. So no one has ever seen me in contention with these people, because everybody'd hear about it. It wouldn't just be a single post. There's some nonsense afoot. And I take great exception to anyone that spreads untruths about me. I will come unglued, and let me tell you, you will see. But I'll leave that to the Most High to deal with. I just wanted to address it, let you know. If you're looking for spiritual leadership, you go to that show. Here, well, we're going to talk about a few things. And today, today, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, Negroes of all ages, today, the topic is America. The topic is America. What about America? They're a nation of fools. A nation of fools. Dear God, these people are foolish. Have you been watching them? Are you taking a look? I mean, you don't even have to open up a book. These folks are showing what I call their monkey asses. Oh, and before I even get into this, understand you're not gonna survive long listening to me with virgin ears, because I do tend to curse occasionally. I do use profanity. I use profanity as a way of expressing myself. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's a release valve, if you will. So you're going to hear some colorful language put upon Negroes through threat of death, as they stole our original tongue and imposed their goddamn language in our mouths. And I will fire it at anybody I see fit to fire it at, it going 1,000,000 miles an hour, particularly in the faces of white people, as I've been prone to do. Ask around, ask them, they'll tell you. That being said, today we will discuss America, a nation of fools. And before we begin that, foolishness fools, as defined by Negroes, juxtaposed to how it's defined by the scripture, juxtaposed to how it's defined in general, can have many different meanings. When someone says we're acting a fool, we know in our little circle of negrosity, when somebody says they're acting a fool, you can believe we have the definition in our minds. We know what we're going to be seeing. If someone says they're acting a fool, there's going to be a lot of tomfoolery going on, a lot of acting out, a lot of passion, a lot of action. When we say, "Hey, man, this dude's acting a fool," anything could precede that saying. Somebody acting a fool might find themselves dead. Somebody acting a fool may find themselves in jail. Somebody acting a fool may find themselves beat beyond recognition. Someone acting a fool may just be fooling around. Somebody acting a fool may be telling jokes. Somebody acting a fool may be in dire circumstances. Now, if we compare that to the Bible calling this country a nation of fools, their sense being taken from them, we lean more into the definition as prescribed by the common tongue, a fool. Let's take a look at it. The word fool can have several meanings, both as a noun and a verb. Here's a breakdown. As a noun, and let's talk about America in this context. As a noun, a fool is a person lacking in judgment or sense. This is the most common meaning, referring to someone considered silly, stupid, or unwise. Let's pause there for a moment. What do you see these clowns doing in this country right now? What is it they're doing? They are attempting the impossible. They're attempting the erasure and the reset of white supremacy into the foreground and into the mainstream. In the year 2025, they wish to take this world back to 1950 and further back. And they want to oppress, suppress, marginalize, mitigate everything black. And that is a foolish move, as most of the world, as we know, is a melanated world, and so few are devoid of the melanin needed to be considered people of color, the neuromelanin, not the phenomelanin. And I hope I'm saying that correctly. But we have a nation of fools that lack judgment, and we're going to get into that. Another definition is a person who is tricked or deceived. You can also refer to someone who has been made to look ridiculous or been manipulated. And this is what the American people is having done to them by those that are in charge, led by their chief fool. They are being tricked. They are being deceived. Their forefathers have fooled them and told them lies. They're going to be made to be looking ridiculous here. Certainly, the rest of the world is looking upon these Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, knuckle-dragging Edomites as if they've lost their rabbit-ass minds. But they're being real cool about it right now. Historically a jester. In the past, a fool was often a professional entertainer in royal or noble courts, known for their wit and humor. Well, I got to tell you, some of the things I see some of these clowns doing in government can be considered funny. Donald Trump has been known to make a few of them laugh. Some of them ain't laughing now. But that definition as a noun, fool. As a verb, to trick or deceive. This refers to the act of misleading someone. This nation is being misled. To behave foolishly. This nation is behaving foolishly. Essentially, fool revolves around the concept, and pay attention to this, folks, of lacking good judgment or being deceived. Lacking good judgment or being deceived. Well, as we look at the United States as a whole, we see that they are all seemingly lacking good judgment, and they all seem to be being deceived. And to understand the American psyche as it's being developed and nurtured and fostered and manipulated into what it is becoming, the new neo-Nazis of the world, I think that they're not taking into account the consequences that may be suffered as a result of their actions. And those are the topics that we'll be discussing today. America, a nation of fools. Before I continue, again, my name is Doug Rice. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for looking in. Thank you for being in. This is a live that I try to do at least once a week. I'll try to do it more as time permits. Remember, I am in the throes of the litigious mechanisms involved in getting in an accident. As you guys know, I was rear-ended. And so between the physical therapy and the counseling and the lawyers, I try the best to get this in play. I would ask that if you do like this effort and you see it worthy of your support, please show your support. I beg you. You can do that through, of course, our Cash App, the Doug Rice Show, things like that. I've got that flowing below. Cash App is probably the fastest way to show your support, and I appreciate again your being here. Again, like, subscribe, share the live as we discuss a nation of fools. So let's begin, shall we? Let's begin. First and foremost, America being a nation of fools is being led by a fool. Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump. I've done some writing about him. Donald J. Trump is the ultimate in being a fool. Donald Trump literally, he puts into perspective and congeals into one horrifying edifice a complete and total fool. And I'm going to tell you why. Not only is he deceiving himself, deceiving the American public, those Negroes that have been deceived by this man also are just a puzzle to me. But for his entire existence, he's been handed everything. He's not had to work hard for anything. He's fostered, brought up by white supremacy, by bigotry, by privilege. And he mistakes this chapter in his life as him culminating into a successful businessman, now prevailing in all that he attempts to do by erasing those that embarrass him so. He is a fool. And as a fool, he worships fools. I say that because at this point, the chief fool of this country is following the playbook of another fool who was defeated in World War II. His name was Adolf Hitler. Donald Trump is said to have worshipped and admired Hitler, is said to have read his book Mein Kampf, and now he appears to be following nearly to the T the parallel mechanisms that put Hitler in power and have ultimately ended in his demise. And so Donald Trump, being wise in his own eyes, thinks himself not a fool, but thinks himself a wise man. And one of the things the scriptures tell us is that a person that is nothing while claiming to be something is himself a fool. He is fooling himself. A person who thinks himself something and yet is nothing is fooling themselves. And Donald Trump is not only fooling himself, but he's making a fool of the entire United States of America. And this is his second go round. And the mastery of his foolishness is that he convinced the United States of America to give him a second chance at being a fool. And with that will come the results of being led by a fool. When a fool worships a loser and parallels everything he does in line with that loser's trajectory and does not expect the same end as the fool he is mimicking and imitating, that fool leading a country of fools has a fool's end. And that's part one, if you will, of America, a nation of fools. The fact that they are led by a fool. Listen, folks, grew up in the tri-state area. Donald Trump's his reputation was well known in the streets of New York. In the New York, New Jersey area, you know, you could go over to New York and you know, he wasn't surrounded by bodyguards. He wasn't president. Just a business guy, party animal, cokehead, generally creepy individual, womanizer, misogynist, you know, thought he was mobbed up, but the mob had him. I mean, the guy thought himself and was promoted by others as this success when high society in New York wouldn't have anything to do with it. The folks that considered themselves the cream of the crop of the New York City and New York State paradigms would not even want to be in the same room with this gaudy, self-inflated, egotistical, maniacal piece of garbage. They laughed at this man. They thought him an absolute fool. That has not changed since he has become president in those corners of the world where they know he will act foolish, he will not pay, he will be bigoted, he will be sexist, misogynistic, he's a horrible human being. And because he was parlayed and put in front of the American public on The Apprentice, poised as a successful white male, interviewed and given all the status and stature of success, he has fooled himself in that he is a success when he is not. And how appropriate that all of these white males that look up to this individual consider themselves as successful as he is, having no success at all, simply mimicking and imitating the whiteness that he worships along with his followers. That at least establishes the point. America, nation of fools, led by a fool. And this country as a whole is filled, left and right, with nothing but fools. Now, when I say left and right, I'm talking about leftists. I'm talking about the democratic, liberal idiocy that mimics evenness and fair-handedness, but is simply itself a tool of white supremacy, and the rightness, the right-wing, openly bigoted white supremacist movement that is gripping the United States by its throat and choking the very life out of it. Filled both left and right with fools, with individuals hell-bent on making a point and trying to convince Negroes to join them in making that point. That brings me to April 5th. Let me make this announcement publicly so that you understand. On April 5th, I understand they're going to have a 1,000,000-man march that will not include Negroes. I'll say that again. On April 5th, they will have a 1,000,000-man march that had better not include Negroes. We are done fighting their fight, taking to the streets, becoming their cannon fodder. We are done. They got themselves into this mess. Let them dig themselves even deeper. And if you are an early riser on April 5th, be a sleeper. Do not join with this nation of fools as left pits itself against right, as they try with all their might to somehow reconcile themselves with themselves, going at themselves. Let them be by themselves. Stay your black asses home on April 5th. You do not want to be involved in their foolishness, if I might. And so left and right, we have a nation of fools filled to the brim with foolish people, all making a point while making none. All the flip side of the same coin of caucasity, each and every man, woman, and child, though attempting to try to make a point, make no point at all. And inevitably, they will all fall. A nation of fools, America, foolish individuals, left and right. There is no decency in democracy. There is no decency in the Democratic Party. There is no decency in the Republican Party. They are all filled to the brim with white supremacy, ready to reserve it anew if you give them a chance to. And I say give them no chance. Sit this out. Don't take sides. Don't vote. Don't involve yourself in their mechanisms of choice. Leave these fools to themselves and watch them disintegrate into oblivion. This is their end. And our job is to watch as Negroes, while simultaneously trying to leave this place. Don't be a fool. Get out of their space. Left and right, nothing but fools. But what makes them fools? Now, we've gone over the definition. What makes fools, fools. What is it? Their conduct, their expectations, their repetitive idiocy that ends in nonsense, in nothingness, their support of a lost cause, following lost people, losing all the while. This is what makes a nation a fool. And they now embrace the past, trying to move forward. They look behind themselves, thinking they're setting a trajectory of a straight line into another golden age. Have they lost their minds? They have indeed. You've got to think about a nation that went through slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, segregation, all of the things that they've put in place, the mechanisms to keep Negroes in their place, the Mississippi Black Codes, the Jim Crow, and they've done so proudly, asserting their dominance over the society that they created for themselves, with themselves, and by themselves, or so they would tell you. Gone are the reminders in history of the contributions of those that don't look like these pale creatures. As you can watch Donald Trump and his mechanisms in trying to erase everything involving Black people in this country. Now he's going after the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, which has within its annals all the accomplishments of Negroes in this country, is set now to remove all reminders that Negroes did anything of any import. And it is a fool's errand to chase after such a destination. It is, I think, it does a disservice to their makeup, and yet they don't care because they're fools. What makes them fools? What makes them fools is their conduct. What makes them fools are their intentions. What makes them fools is looking behind them while moving forward. They don't see the direction they're headed. They don't see the brick wall they're certainly going to crash into. What they see is only white supremacy. And they want a resurgence, a remake. They want a redo. They find all that they've put in place wasn't good enough for them. And I find that foolish in itself. Can you imagine? They feel that they've missed something in obtaining all the power and the wealth and the influence and the favor and the redlining and the and the sundowner towns and the segregation and all of the things that put them in power. They now want to dismantle and remake anew. And if you ask me, repetitive idiocy is also foolish. So that makes them fools. More importantly, what makes a fool is fooling themselves. They are fooling themselves. And here we're going to pause for a moment. How are they fooling themselves? One of the biggest way they're fooling themselves is thinking that there will be no correction, that there will be no retribution. Let me tell you something, folks. The way they created this country was built in blood. It was built in the horrors of exercising their power over the will of others in a bloody fashion, murdering, raping, burning alive, castrations, all of the horrors that go along with white supremacy in order to subjugate subjugate those without power. And the vacuum that has been created by those actions is soon to be filled by retribution. They have convinced the population of white people in this country that there will be no reckoning. None. They are fooling themselves into believing that all the blood that they've spilled, all the horrors of their imposition upon those subjugated to them, all of the crimes, all of these things will go unanswered, and it will be swept under the rug of history while they create a new age. What a foolish notion. That is one of the largest foolish mechanisms they've put into place. They're fooling themselves and right to their face. They've not told their children that there will be a price to pay. They're ignoring those facts. They're for another day. But they don't think that there'll ever be comeuppance. Here's another thing that interests me. If the roles were reversed, if there were a reversal of the roles of what occurred in this country and white was black and black was white, can you imagine the lengths to which they would go to right the wrongs that they wronged us so? Can you imagine? Can you even understand? Had we been the ones with the clubs in our hand, had we been the ones who enslaved white people, had we been the ones that killed in a white Emmett Till, can you imagine they'd still be at us still? They'd still want retribution. But what do they tell Negroes? Get over it, while expecting there to be no consequence for their actions historically. They are fooling themselves primarily into thinking that all the foundations that they've laid historically will go unanswered, and they will simply traipse into the future, their golden age fully intact and ready to be mechanized against the masses. To me, they're just as foolish as asses. I couldn't help that one. Another foolish indicator are their actions, the foolish actions of these individuals, the things that they're doing openly. If you can understand watching a person with a neo-Nazi flag covering their face, going into our cities and into our spaces and acting out, and they expect no repercussion. They feel an entitlement to these actions, to take these actions upon us, an unsuspecting population. And the one thing that really grips at my hide is the fact that they'll go after our children, they'll go after our women, and they'll go after our elderly. And they do so thinking there'll be no consequences to those actions. Lately, and if you read or if you watched my posts on Facebook, there was a gentleman who was called the N-word by a 77-year-old man, came into his store, to his place of business. And when he called him an N-word, the brother got into his face, ended up knocking him down, punching him in his face. The gentleman hit his head and he died 3 days later. And surprisingly, amazingly, he got probation, house arrest, and no prison time. Now that, in my estimation, shows that they are fools in expecting no consequences for their actions. It is an amazing notion that fools would act foolishly and foolishly expect no consequence. And these days, consequence is what they are facing. As I said, we have a nation of fools. America is filled and is filling itself with foolish people walking about with foolish pride and expecting everyone else to stand aside. Those consequences are also deeply entrenched in their attitude that if they have to, they will let this country burn as long as a white man is holding the match. I want you to understand the foolishness in that. As opposed to letting things be, perhaps making a reconciliation of some sort, maybe reparations, something that they would much rather erase the history of Negroes and then burn it all down as long as a white man was in control of starting the fire. Can you imagine that? That is foolish consequences. They don't care. They don't care that perhaps the world is watching this country go down in a ball of flames. They simply want white supremacy and everything to remain the same. The world is watching these fools. The world is watching them and is waiting patiently for them to step into a realm that allows them to be conquered. I will tell you over and over again, the one thing that they are not taking into account is what the rest of the world will do if they get their way. If they get a whites only country, if what they're going for as a target for the future is realized, what do they think the rest of the world will do? Now, only a fool would think that the rest of the colorized world would watch a country regress into the 1950s, into the time of Fay, into the time of Jim Crow, and the rest of the world being in the year 2025 would simply go about its business and allow these folks to remain alive. I do not believe the world will do that. I believe the world will take steps and action towards and against the United States if they accomplish the end that they are trying to accomplish, which is turning back the time, turning back the hands of time, and immersing itself into a full-fledged neo-Nazi repeat. I think they're not remembering what was done to the Nazis. I don't think the United States thinks it can happen to them. I think they're foolish in that regard because they don't remember when. They don't take into account the history. The history is so far in the past. They just think this mechanism they've created will last, and that makes them a nation of fools. How do they become foolish? How did they become foolish? Indeed, they are foolish by nature, and so we read. They are fools creating fools. If you go far enough back into the history of these beings, you'll see that the only thing that's been improved is the way they go about administering their white supremacy. Now they're much more polished. They're much more evolved in how they express their prejudice. But back in the heyday of white supremacy, they were very rough with it. They were beasts, they were animals, they were violent. Some of the things that their ancestors had done, picnics and hangings and lynchings. Some of them would bury our children up to their necks and play kickball. The origins of some of the things that we've endured have now been parlayed into the entertainment that they enjoy. And we can now read about it freely. And fools beget fools. By nature, they are foolish. The good sense not just being removed from them, as the Creator has stated, but inherently, these are crazed and foolish beings that do crazed and foolish things. And we have been a victim of their foolishness. We have watched as they have done things to us that defy imagination and common decency. And by nature, they show themselves to be fools. They think it funny that they feed our children to crocodiles. They think it funny that they tie our pregnant women up, slit the throat of the woman, and then slit the belly of the woman, and then bet on what will die first. They think it funny that Nat Turner was made into Nate's juice after he rebelled, killing quite a few of these fools in their sleep. Families of fools. They thought they thought that it would they thought they would put a smile on the faces of white America that they made shoes out of us. They thought it would be funny, humorous to put our hair in their furniture. They thought it would be somewhat quaint that they would take our teeth and create dentures and put our teeth in their mouths. They thought it funny that they would raise their children by giving their infants to our pregnant mothers and wives and daughters as they suckled on their teats, saving one teat for white and one for hopefully their own. These are what foolish people do. And more importantly, they take great pride in their foolishness. That's what I find to be the most egregious of these people's nature, that they take pride in what they've done. And if you push them enough, they will vocalize that pride in all the heinous and vile things they've involved themselves. They find it humorous, funny, rewarding. They find that it helps establish them as fools. Oh, yes, America is filled with fools, a nation of fools, and they are happy in their foolishness, happy to be fools. You've seen them as they respond to our posts, as the awakening takes hold of Negroes throughout the world, and we are vocalizing all that we've found regarding the activities of these beings historically. They find humor in our observations. That some of them go so far as to attack us through humor and racist sentiment. These are fools that do this to us. And finally, like a fool, they will be dying a fool's death. A fool's death in itself is one that is brought about by their own mechanisms, by their own doing. A fool's death is one that will be experienced while they laugh. And while they enjoy what they are doing, the destruction that has been promised to these individuals will come upon them. And they will soon experience all that fools should experience at their end, the death of being a fool at the hands of a fool leading them into foolishness. That is what the United States of America is now experiencing. America is a nation of fools. They've lost their common sense. Any that may have showed a proclivity toward common sense have long since died in the wars that have put together by fools as they head down the foolish path and their foolish end. And all I can say is, folks, do one of two things. Either get out of this country, flee, as T.I. Ministries, Brother Yacoba and Brother Te'o express. Get out if you can. But if you cannot get out, make way, get elsewhere, find yourself unavailable, both physically and mentally, because the last thing that you wish to be is in the path of a foolish nation hell bent on your elimination as a Negro nation. And that is not an end any of us wish to experience. Well, there you have it, folks. The entire diatribe of what a fool is, how this nation has become foolish, the foolish end that they face, the fact that they are fast growing in number, and they are hell bent on being the fools they intend to be. And all you can do is just wait and see. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here. I do hope that you share, like, and subscribe. I hope that I am heard well. I pray and for each and every one of you to be safe during this transition, the transition of the Americas going into its final death knell. They're like choking on their own blood. And soon they're going to be full force and full swing, and they're going to segregate and they're going to do their thing. And the only thing that we can do is try to be elsewhere, me and you. Again, I do appreciate your time, folks. Please like, subscribe, share, do all of the things that you see there. If you do like what you hear, support the effort. And I close with, please, again, listen to T.I. Ministries. If you look for spiritual nourishment with me, you'll simply get some entertainment and hopefully an education as to what it is we are facing. Steer clear of these individuals, brothers and sisters. Do not make the mistake of thinking that any of them are your friends, because what they do most and best is pretend. All right, that's where you have it, folks. I do thank you for showing up. My name is Doug Rice. Thank you for tuning in the Doug Rice Show. Hopefully you have heard this live much better, than the last one. But you guys take it easy. Pack your gear, because we're almost out of here. Peace and blessings, Negroes. I'm out.
Thank you.